Good morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbus. My name is Sarah Mayab, and my pronouns are she, they. I am happy to serve on your board of trustees. I am middle-aged, pale, freckled, with wild, uncontrollable green and silver hair, large glasses, dangly earrings, and I tend to wear a colorful scarf. Today it's green. Our speakers provide visual descriptions of welcome to help those with visual impairments and those listening online. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones. Scan the QR code to check in, access our donation page, view the order of service. Visitors here in person are invited to pick up a first-time gift at the welcome table out in the gallery, and look for the Getting to Know UU sign in Beach Hall after the service to learn more about our congregation. Whether you are brand new here or you helped at the 1984 UUA General Assembly, you are welcome to chat with me or another board member. We all have these quite discreet maroon ribbons. There's a lot happening here at First UU. To start, because I'm getting tired of holding it, the Feed and Read program, Jacques is out in Beach Hall. Please take a bag if you do not already have one. And the needs for March, rice and beans and peanut butter. These all go to help families who would otherwise not be able to access pantries and resources in our area. Be the spark. Today is your last chance to win any items that have not yet been sold at the First UU auction. Check the auction table in Beach Hall after service for your final chance. The UUA General Assembly is open. Please reach out to our board if you are planning to attend, and most definitely if you want to be a First UU delegate. The Anti-Racist Allies Lunch Outing to Creole To Go is today. Enjoy Chef, I gotta remember my French, Genevieve Ward for her market staff inside the East Market. Please meet at the kiosk at 12:30 to carpool. Carpe Diem String Quartet is in concert today at 2 p.m. First UU members receive a $10 discount. Buy tickets online or at the door, and save the date of March 29th for the next First UU concert series featuring Aaron Nathans and Michael Ronstadt. Ohio Feed and Read is, we have the Feed and Read, I showed you the bag. See Jacques, see Jacques again, really see Jacques. Members are available to give to view their giving and their personal information, communicate with each other, view the online church directory via Realm, which is our new online database. It's awesome. See Becca Morris after service with any questions, or email realm@1stUU Columbus for help. Registration for Peace Camp is open. Tell your friends and family about the elementary age program where children gather together at First UU to explore concepts of peace. Camps will be held the week of July 28th and August 4th, but registration tends to fill fast, so sign up now. For all these announcements and so much more, see your order of worship for this week's Friday news for all the details. And now, if you would please rise in body or in spirit to sing Morning So Fair to See, which is number 42 in the gray hymnal and on their screen.
Glorious the earth and resplendent skies. Pilgrims, we march along, singing our joyous song, as though an earthly paradise. Tall ancient trees, deep o'er the flashing seas, glorious each wonder the seasons bring. Brighter is faith's surmise, shining in pilgrim eyes, from which our waking spirits spring. Age after age we rise, 'neath the eternal skies, into the light from the shadowed past. Still shall our pilgrim song, buoyant and brave and strong, resound while life and mountains last.
Good morning. I am Rev. Amanda Hayes. My pronouns are she, her, and I serve as your justice minister. I'm a white woman in my mid-30s with glasses and short, spiky hair. We gather on the stolen land of the Wyandot, Miami, Seneca, Erie, Shawnee, Delaware, and Cayuga people, many of whom were forcibly removed. We support the Native American Indian Center of Central Ohio in their Land Back campaign. And we know that we have more to do to be in true relationship and solidarity with this land and those indigenous to it.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm the Reverend Kelly McNeil. My pronouns are she, her, and I serve as your minister of congregational life. I'm a white woman in her mid-30s with long, dark purple hair, clear glasses, and I'm wearing a purple stole this morning. We give thanks for this day and take this time to reflect on how we might live the gift of life more joyfully and consciously, to find within the habitual and routine new wonder, to discover within the fragments of our experience emerging form, to overcome the illusion of our separateness, and through sympathy and friendship, be born into a larger self. For it is in our place as parts within a whole and participants in a greater being that our fear can be turned to acceptance, our confusion can be turned to faith, our pain can be turned to wisdom, and the life that seems poor and empty be made generous, rich, and abundant. Now let us enter into the spirit of worship. And it is now time for our children to meet in the back to help us bring in the light. Everyone else, please turn to your neighbors and introduce yourself. now time for our children to bring in the light.
Good morning. Clearly there is a lot of joy in being here today. Very happy to see that. Yeah. I'm the Reverend Dr. Teresa Cooley. It's my privilege to serve as your developmental minister. I've got a little bit of an echo there, guys. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a white woman in her early 60s with silver hair and very bright reddish-orange dress and a white and red stole. Our chalice lighting comes from the Reverend Rebecca Savage. We light our flaming chalice each week with a simple spark to make holy our time together. With this flame, may our highest intentions be refreshed. With this flame, may we remember who we are and whose we are. With this flame, may our faith be renewed and reignited to guide our journey.
Thank you, Hazel and Alora, for your help lighting our chalice this morning. Sometimes it's extra fun to do something with your sibling. Good morning. I'm Amber Scott, your Director of Religious Exploration, and my pronouns are she, they. I'm a white femme millennial with wild and wonderful wavy hair and a green sweater. Today's story is called Desmond and the Very Mean Word, based on the true childhood experience of South African Nobel Peace Prize winner Archbishop Desmond Tutu, co-authored by Douglas Carlton Abrams and illustrated by A.G. Ford. Desmond was proud of his new bicycle. He was the only child in town who had one, and he couldn't wait to show Father Trevor. Father Trevor was kind and loving, and he didn't care if you were rich or poor, black or white, old or young. As Desmond sped down the dirt road, he admired his bicycle. It was beautiful. When he turned the corner, a gang of boys stepped into the road to block his path. He didn't dare stop. What if they took his bike? Desmond gripped the handlebars and raced towards them, dust flying. The boys scattered, but the tallest red-haired boy spat out a very mean word. The other boys laughed and shouted the mean word. Desmond pedaled as fast as he could. His heart pounded and his chest ached. The mean word kept repeating over and over inside his head. "What's wrong?" Father Trevor asked. "Some boys shouted a very mean word at me." "I'm sorry that happened. They hurt your feelings, didn't they?" Desmond's shoulders relaxed a bit, and he nodded. "Can you forgive them?" "No, never. I will get them back." Father Trevor sighed. "That's a problem, Desmond. You will get them back, and then they will get you back, and soon our whole world will be filled with nothing but getting back." That night, Desmond lay in bed, trying to read his comic book by candlelight. But instead of the words on the page, he kept seeing the mean word over and over again. The next day, no matter how fast he pedaled to school, Desmond couldn't leave the mean word behind. All day, the mean word followed him around like a shadow. As he rode home that afternoon, he saw the boys again. His hands and face felt hot. Maybe, if he got even, he would stop thinking about what they called him. So he raced past the boys and shouted the meanest word he could think of. He heard the boys running after him. Desmond pedaled hard, his heart pounding. Finally, he looked back. The boys had given up the chase. At first, Desmond felt proud, but very soon he began to feel something else. It was not a good feeling. The mean word he'd said left a bitter taste in his mouth. After school the next day, Desmond went to Father Trevor. "Are you feeling any better?" Desmond shook his head and frowned. When people say mean words to us, we often feel ashamed of who we are. They can make us feel less lovable, but it's not true. Everything we do matters. If we smile or frown, if we say something nice or something mean. When we hurt someone, it hurts us too. That night, Father Trevor dropped in to see Desmond's parents. Desmond carried a pot of tea to the living room, then went outside. Tonight, he just wanted to be alone. Sitting on the doorstep, Desmond looked up at the starry sky, an empty ache in his chest. He thought he could see the mean word written on the moon. "That's a very nice bicycle you have," Father Trevor said as he sat down next to Desmond. The black paint gleamed in the moonlight. Desmond had forgotten to show his bike to Father Trevor. It didn't matter now. He just shrugged and turned his back. He didn't want to talk, not even to Father Trevor. "Still thinking about that mean word?" Father Trevor asked. Desmond slowly nodded. "Our hearts are fragile and easily hurt. This is why we were given a way to heal them. It's called forgiveness." "How can I forgive them? They haven't said they're sorry." You don't need to wait until someone says they're sorry to forgive them. You have the power to forgive whenever you are ready. "I'm not ready," Desmond said. "That's fine, Desmond. Only you will know when you are." Father Trevor got up to leave. Desmond felt a lump in his throat. Father Trevor said very softly, "Let me tell you a secret, Desmond. When you forgive someone, you free yourself from whatever they've said or done. It's like magic." A week later, Desmond was riding his bicycle down the street when he saw the boy with the red hair surrounded by two older boys. "That'll teach you," one of them said, dunking the head of the red-haired boy into a bucket of water. The boy looked like he was about to cry. a woman appeared at the door. "Leave your brother alone. You're as bad as your father. Now get in this house before I..." She didn't finish her sentence before the door slammed shut. To Desmond's surprise, he felt sorry for the red-haired boy. A few days later, Desmond ran to the market to buy his father a newspaper. The red-haired boy was standing at the candy counter. Desmond wanted to say something, but what? Thinking of the mean word he had shouted, Desmond finally blurted out, "I'm sorry for what I said." The boy looked at him, speechless. Finally, he stammered, "I guess well." Desmond didn't need the boy to say he was sorry. It would have been nice, but like Father Trevor said, it wasn't necessary. "I forgive you," Desmond said quietly. Instantly, he felt a little stronger and a little braver and stood up a little taller. After buying the newspaper, Desmond went outside. The red-haired boy was sitting under a tree and moved toward him. Desmond froze. The boy looked around to see if anyone was watching, then handed Desmond a piece of candy. Desmond looked into the other boy's eyes and smiled, then hurried to get back on his bike, popping the chocolate in his mouth. As the sun set, Desmond pedaled home fast, not out of fear, but out of joy. The cool wind felt good against his face. He wanted the chocolate on his tongue to last forever. He spread his arms out wide as if he were flying. At last, Desmond knew what it felt like to be free. It was as if he could embrace the whole world in his outstretched arms. The end. How can we forgive each other when someone hurts us? Covenants are agreements about how to treat each other well and help create a roadmap to restore community when we make mistakes. Mistakes are expected and part of being human. Learning and working through things together matters. As our children process back up the center aisle, we would also like to ask our Bread Network members to come down one of the other aisles to join us in front of the chancel for our commissioning. If you're present online, you can type "I'm a Bread Network member" in the chat. Everyone else, please remain seated with hands over your hearts as we sing "From You I Receive," number 402, to sing our beloved children back to their families and out to class. Let's sing it twice through to give everyone a little extra time to move.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
One way our congregation fulfills our vision of healing and transforming ourselves and our world is by working with other congregations through our interfaith Bread organization. Bread stands for building, responsibility, equality, and dignity. Bread is made up of 42 religious congregations in Central Ohio. These congregations are united through Bread to research proven solutions and apply nonpartisan pressure on local elected officials to improve housing, healthcare, employment, education, safety, and other community problems in Central Ohio. A few Sundays ago, we heard here in the service about Bread's work to create a more restorative city through restorative justice circles in the juvenile justice system, restorative practices in Columbus City schools, and more. Transforming our city toward restorative approach creates opportunities for healing and learning rather than punishment. Even at times when our national politics feel incredibly overwhelming, we still have the ability to make a real difference for ourselves and our neighbors at a local level. But this vital work of transformation can only be done with the power of people. In particular, we need to show city leaders that we have people power by turning out in huge numbers this year at the Bread Nehemiah Action on Tuesday, May 13. We will again be at the Celeste Center. Our goal is that 200 First UUers of all ages would attend the Nehemiah Action, as many as usually attend a Sunday service and RE.
I'm River Hayden. I like to do Hawaiian sing.
River has come with me for 3 Nehemiah Actions, I believe, and this will be his 4th. So you can do hard things too. The more of us who show up from all our congregations, the more power we have to heal and transform our city. So put it on your calendar. It's May 13, and this is where our Bread Network members come in. Hey, sweetie, you're gonna need to use your whisper voice if you're up here, okay? This spring, they will be building people power by reaching out to members of First UU, sharing more about Bread's work, and reminding you about the Nehemiah Action. You're also welcome to reach out to our Bread team or me if you have any questions. And now, as First UU's Social Justice Minister, I commission our First UU Bread Network members who you see before you, and some of whom may also be online. May you be loving, persistent, courageous, and thoughtful as you reach out to invite your fellow First UUers and other community members to join the Nehemiah Action. Thank you for your work for justice. All right. You may be seated. This month, we are also sharing our offering plate with Pathway Clubhouse, which is a community-based program of psychosocial rehabilitation for people who have a mental illness. The Clubhouse model began in New York in 1948 with Fountain House and has grown nationally and internationally as a holistic approach, empowering people living with mental illness. Pathway Clubhouse is certified by Clubhouse International and is nationally accredited by CARF. Membership in the Clubhouse is lifelong and is at the member's discretion. Opportunities for social interaction, developing relationships, employment, education, and building community are integral to the holistic approach of the Clubhouse model. Through Bread, First UU fought to bring Pathway Clubhouse to Columbus, and we have continued our relationship with Pathway through the years. In addition to passing the basket, you can text to give, scan the QR code on your screen, or visit firstucolumbus.org/donate. Thanks for your generosity.
you have something on your mind or heart today and would like to talk, you can find a pastoral listener, Barb Fiorini, who's right here. Barb will be in Beach Hall after the service to listen, and covenantal relations team member, Kristen Hartman, who's right there, will be hosting Beyond Small Talk back here in Slaughter Lounge, the room with the glass windows. We'll be hosting Beyond Small Talk for anyone who wants to discuss how our covenantal practice holds us together through hard conversations, and to hear your thoughts and concerns about congregational transitions. We have some joys and sorrows from our community to share with you this morning, and there are 3 caring cards to sign in Beach Hall after worship. First, we send our proud acknowledgement and congratulations to Karen Timmis, who was recently recognized for her long, dedicated work connecting with prisoners over the past 30 years. She has been a valued source of hope and inspiration. Thank you, Karen, for your long and dedicated work to this important cause. We share in the happy celebration of Chris Elliott and Shirley Lang on their 45th wedding anniversary on March 15th. And we share our concern and care to Sage Cosme and her family, Mom Tara, Dad Joel, and siblings Yesh and Juniper, as Sage has been hospitalized at Children's Hospital with a rare and very serious autoimmune disorder. She is now at home and undergoing additional treatment. A meal train is being established to help the family, and information will be available at the caring table in Beach Hall for anyone who would like to help. I now invite us all into the spirit of prayer and meditation as we hear these words from Jan Richardson. If you would enter into the wilderness, do not begin without a blessing. Do not leave without hearing who you are. Beloved, named by the one who has traveled this path before you. Do not go without letting it echo in your ears. And if you find it is hard to let it into your heart, do not despair. That is what this journey is for. I cannot promise this blessing will free you from danger, from fear, from hunger or thirst, from the scorching of sun or the fall of the night. But I can tell you that on this path, there will be help. I can tell you that on this way, there will be rest. I can tell you that you will know the strange graces that come to our aid only on a road such as this, that fly to meet us, bearing comfort and strength, that come alongside us for no other cause than to lean themselves toward our ear and with their curious insistence, whisper our name. Beloved, beloved, beloved. I will now ring our temple bell as we share in a moment of quiet and contemplation together.
5 years ago, I was serving the Unitarian Universalist Church of Arlington, Virginia. The church had accumulated a great deal of debt over the years due to building campaigns not quite reaching their goal, and so they decided to launch a $4 million capital campaign just for the purpose of paying off this debt. The silent phase of the campaign went well, and on March 15th, 2020, we were going to have an amazing launch service. We rented a high school auditorium. We had numerous guest speakers flying into town. We had special musicians, a catered lunch, the works. You can imagine what happened. All this planning and dreaming and preparing came crashing to the ground, all because of a little thing known as COVID-19. Now, certainly not everyone had lofty plans fall apart, but I do know that that week created trauma for every single one of us, trauma that continued for years, trauma that we are still processing, I think. We learned a lot about what was important to us, and perhaps what isn't important to us, and also what real relationship is. At that time, I was living in a condo complex, and a young family lived next door to me. They had a 4-year-old son who was the chattiest child I had ever met. Every time I saw him, he would come up and tell me these long, involved stories. I remember one of them being about the family vacation that he had just taken and the big argument that his parents had in great detail. So the first time I saw him after the lockdown, I expected another great story from him. And instead, he saw me and yelled, "Germs, germs," and ran away. My heart broke in that moment. I could detail loss after loss, change after change, but that would take all day. For the purposes of this sermon, I want to talk about how it changed how we understood community and relationships. I've always been a very social person, and I particularly love to entertain. And of course, that had to come to a screeching halt. I moved to California in the middle of the pandemic, and I remember when I was unpacking my kitchen, I had to sit down on the floor of the kitchen and cry, because half of my kitchen things are for entertaining. I had no idea when I was going to use them again. I wondered whether I should even unpack them. That important way of sharing and connection was lost at that time, and I didn't know if it would come back. And so, of course, Zoom was our saving grace. We used it to connect in a variety of ways, both personal and official. As I've told you before, my specialty is serving congregations that are recovering from misconduct, ministerial misconduct, and much like here, my previous church was recovering from a bullying minister who knew how to split groups and divide them into for her or against her. The board had been especially traumatized by this behavior, and friendships of decades were almost destroyed. At one point, I held a Zoom meeting for everyone who had served on the board during her time, and people said some hard things, sometimes some very hurtful things, and afterwards, one person talked to me on Zoom and said, "That one person who I had such a hard time with, I could tell she was staring at me the whole time." I said, "You do know those boxes move around, right?" There's no way she could have been glaring at you. In normal times, this meeting would have been held in someone's living room, perhaps aided by the relaxing effects of sharing some wine. They would have had to say the hard things to a full embodied person, not just a box, and could follow up with conversations later. This was intended to be a 2-year interim, but under the circumstances, we had to extend to 3 years because there was no way they could do the necessary healing work only online. Once we were able to gather in person, I witnessed remarkable reconnections. One person said to me, "I never thought I would be able to forgive so-and-so. But when I finally saw her in person, we fell into each other's arms with tears of relief and joy." When I was vice president of the UUA, I oversaw a project called Congregations and Beyond. We were trying to establish different kinds of community that weren't necessarily formal congregations. We had groups gathering in coffee shops and bars and, of course, online. And I remember my colleagues saying to me, "There is no way you can have true community without the holding container of a congregation." And I thought them narrow-minded and stuck in the past. But after the pandemic and during, I rethought that judgment. I still think it's possible to create a kind of community online or in non-traditional spaces, and I'm so grateful that we can continue to provide an online experience for those who cannot make it into church in person. But I know it doesn't completely suffice. At the senior gathering on Thursday, I met someone for the first time who has severe health issues and is rarely able to be here in person. It was the first time in 5 years that she had set foot in the building. And with tears in her eyes, she told me she realized what she had been missing that whole time. But here's the thing, it's not just about the joy of reconnecting or connecting. It's also, strangely enough, about the pain. When the connection is that tenuous, it's easy to just walk away when the going gets tough. Parker Palmer said, "Church exists so that you can come and have to sit next to the very person who irritates you the most. And then you know what your work is." Community is never only about sunshine and roses, it's also about the hard work of growth, the kind of growth that only comes when you don't walk away. I often say that conflict in a congregation can be a good and healthy thing. We inevitably have differences, and some of those differences can be quite painful. But when we learn healthy ways of working through them, finding what we each need to learn, then transformation is possible. Transformation of everyone involved. As we heard in our children's story this morning, Our Time for All Ages. One of the concerns that I often hear about AI is related to those online bots or even very cuddly robots that offer you nothing but affirmation. People become addicted to those relationships, if we can call them that, and they lose the ability to really grow in the way that true relationships really ask us to do. The sad truth is that being in community can break your heart. It can break when you realize that some people can disappoint you and that it can never really live up to its idealistic expectations. When I was on staff at the UUA, I would often say that I wouldn't hire anyone for a staff position unless their heart had already been broken by Unitarian Universalism. If they came to us in that first flush of joy of finding a community that seemed so different from any other, then they really hadn't worked through what church is in its fullest experience. The first time someone disappointed them by being demanding or mean or rude would send them running for the hills. But a mature relationship with Unitarian Universalism knows that it is always an unattainable ideal. We will always be disappointed. And the only way to the other side of that grief is through it. The other choice is to leave and to then be alone. Barbara Brown Taylor said, "The wisdom of the Desert Fathers includes the wisdom that the hardest spiritual work in the world is to love the neighbor as the self, to encounter another human being not as somebody that you can use or change or fix or help or save or enroll, convince or control, but simply as someone who can spring you from the prison of yourself, if you will allow it. All you have to do is recognize another you out there, your other self in the world, for whom you may care as instinctively as you care for yourself. To become that person, even for a moment, is to understand what it means to die to yourself. And this can be as frightening as it is liberating. It may be the only real spiritual discipline that is. So how do we do that? We can't automatically know what we need from one another. And so in the last few decades, many churches have tried to articulate those experiences, those expectations, this one included, by developing a covenant of healthy relations, respectful relations, covenantal relations. This church has this covenant. It begins, "We build our church community on a foundation of love. Toward this end, I covenant to do the following," and then a list of other commitments, including, "I shall speak my truth honestly and directly with care and compassion, and cherish the well-being of the congregation above my own personal preferences." So I normally would print that covenant in the order of service, but it would take up the entire order of service. I think we need to shorten it just a little bit, and I hope we can have some kind of process in the fall to do so. But essentially, all covenants are a promise that we make to each other. We could say it as succinctly as this: we promise to speak our own truth with love and respect, knowing that the whole is greater than the parts. Because the covenant isn't just the words we use. It's not the script that we must memorize or list of shoulds or oughts or nots that we can punish someone with. A colleague of mine speaks of covenant as the field upon which we all walk together. The various words we may choose may help us find a path, but covenant exists above and beyond all words. It can't be broken. It just helps us stay on the path. And as I keep saying, that path is not always easy. My colleague Nancy McDonald-Ladd puts it this way: if God's name is love, then God compels us to resist the fall to sinful violence by pushing back with muscular resolve against the social strictures that confine our capacity to care. A universalist God for a tragic era is not a gauzy, hymn-singing force of personal devotion that draws us endlessly toward itself, but a fierce and compelling power that grips us by the collar amidst our rebellious descent and calls us to choose the will to mutuality over and over again, even when that choice is so risky it could utterly remake us. Goodness knows that we need a fierce and compelling power right now. We are all traumatized, and I fear the trauma will only increase. And it won't surprise me if we sometimes think that we can release that trauma by turning on one another, since we can't turn on the real source of the pain. My colleague Megan Foley recently said, "What I'm wondering about this time is whether or not we should instead kind of ground down in our own values and our own hopes for who we want to be in the world, even if it feels like just a little mustard seed of something to do in the face of some enormity that we hate. We still have the option of choosing how we respond and how we want to be in the world. In the conflict workshops that I do, I often hear this question, do I have to resolve every conflict? And my unambiguous answer is no. If we feel unsafe or manipulated, then it's perfectly appropriate, even healthy and necessary, to walk away from a conflict. But here's the thing. If we walk away, we never have the opportunity to work through it to learn something about ourselves and others that may be just what we need to learn. James Baldwin put this beautifully in his poem, "For nothing is fixed." For nothing is fixed forever, forever, forever. It is not fixed. The earth is always shifting. The light is always changing. The sea does not cease to grind down rock. Generations do not cease to be born, and we are responsible to them because we are the only witnesses that they have. The sea rises, the light fails, lovers cling to each other, and children cling to us. The moment we cease to hold one another, the moment we break faith with one another, the sea engulfs us, and the light goes out. To keep that light on means cultivating the art of compassion. Frederick Buechner defined compassion this way: compassion is the sometimes fatal capacity for feeling what it's like to live inside somebody else's skin. It's the knowledge that there can never really be any peace and joy for me until there is peace and joy for others. To live like this is countercultural. It is revolutionary. It stands against everything that our materialistic and ego-driven culture tells us we should do. But we are revolutionaries, are we not? This is the kind of revolution that is worth fighting for. We do it by having the courage to stay together. This is why we need church. A place where we can grow and struggle together, where we can be both supported and challenged, where we can be seen as unique and precious individuals, yes, but also learn the human truth that our own individual needs cannot and perhaps should not be met at times. Where sometimes we have to subsume our individual needs so that together we can achieve far more than we can alone. This is what keeps the light on. Amen. Our final hymn is number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Please take the hand of someone close to you or place your hand on your heart. Share these words from Alice Blair Wesley. Though our knowledge is incomplete, our truth partial, and our love never fully realized. From our own experience and from the witness of our faith tradition, we believe that new light is ever waiting to break forth through individual hearts and minds to illuminate the ways of humankind, that there is mutual strength in willing cooperation, and that the bonds of love keep open the gates of freedom. Amen. And now let us extinguish our chalice together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of vision. As we go forth, let us heal and transform our world and our world through reason and love.